Good evening, everyone. It's great to see so many people out here to discuss energy. Aklama Kekinusuqs, Hupachasaksup, Nuchalnathot. My English name is Judith Sayers. I come from the Hupachasat peoples that the city of Port Alberni has invaded our territory. And I'd like to acknowledge tonight as well that we are on Coast Salish, unceded territories, and acknowledge my friends in the Tsleil-Waututh, Squamish, and Musqueam nations. Can't talk energy today without talking about First Nations. I'd like you to think in your mind, think ahead 10, 15 years. What is the earth going to look like? What are the tar sands going to be doing to the earth? What are the pipelines going to be doing to the land? What are the tankers going to be doing to our oceans? What is the temperature going to be doing to our water? What about our health, the air, clean drinking water? We are definitely at the point where we need to have very serious conversations, and that's why it really is exciting to me to see so many people coming out to have this discussion. As First Nations people, we are part of the land, we are part of the water, we are part of the sky. Our responsibilities to Mother Earth are great. You know, don't really have a definition of sustainability, but one of our teachers is that we must leave enough behind for many generations. Many generations. And when you think 10, 15, 20 years down the road, are they going to be able to fish sockeye? Are they going to be able to strip cedar? Are they going to be able to gather medicinal plants? And I'm not sure. But you know, as First Nations people, we are rising up. We are using our voices to protect what's important to us. We have constitutionally protected rights. As Section 35 was put in the Constitution to protect those rights. And with those rights, whether it's the right to fish, the right to hunt, the right to gather, you have to have ecosystems. But you know, the courts have said that governments can infringe on our rights if it can be justified. And what does that justification look like? And it's always jobs in the economy versus First Nations rights. Who wins and who loses? At some point, they're going to infringe so much that there won't be anything left. And so what was the use of Section 35? But we're never going to let it get that way. First Nations people will be going to courts. They will be laying in front of the bulldozers. They will be using every method they have available to them to protect what's important to them. And I think that's why the lesson to companies that want to come in and develop energy of any sort needs to sit down at the very beginning and say, this is what we'd like to do. What is your concerns? How can we help protect your water? How can we help make sure that the habitat that supports your moose or your elk or your caribou will still continue? First Nations people are not opposed to development. They are opposed to development that is going to destroy our rights. In British Columbia, 125 out of 203 First Nations are involved in energy projects, renewable energy. And many of those First Nations have 2 and 3 and 4 projects. Wonderful projects. Kanaka Bar, they're building a 50 megawatt run of the river project on Coyote Creek with interjects. We have many on the island. We have First Nations that are involved in wind, Kekinusuqs First Nation is an amazing example of solar and solar technology, and they want to build a wind farm. The issue now is that the BC government has turned their attention to LNG and offering very limited opportunity in renewable energy. We're going backwards in this province, backwards, because we want LNG, let them create any kind of power that they want. First Nations saying, we want renewable power. Maybe it can't be for all of it. You know, it's no longer acceptable to be creating more and more greenhouse gases that are going to impact everyone's lives, everyone's land, everyone's water. It's no longer acceptable to be flooding thousands of hectares of land, destroying First Nations heritage sites, cultural sites, burial sites, where they exercise their rights. The conversation has got to change. The conversation is, what can we do better? How can we use more renewables instead of using some of the same old things that we want to do? Why is it acceptable that the LNG industry gets to do whatever they want? How many other industries get to do whatever they want? What about laws and policies? So First Nations and energy have to go hand in hand. British Columbia, Aboriginal title hasn't been resolved. We need to be consulted. International law says that we have the free, prior, and informed consent. We should be saying yes to these projects. And I want you to know that there are independent power companies in British Columbia that when a First Nation says no because the creek has fish or the creek is a sacred creek, those industries walk away. And so they should. Because if you can't find ways to mitigate damages or to prevent the damages, why should First Nations always be the ones losing their rights when they are constitutionally protected? It's about a way of life, and it's important. And I think the goals of all people, we share a lot. We want to have a sustainable future. We want to protect the pristine areas of our country that we can go to. We want to be able to go out and fish, not for livelihood, for recreation, for food. All of those things are things that we share. And we need to be more vocal about what is acceptable and what isn't. We need to make it more of an election issue and an issue that we all care about, not just the group that's here tonight, but every single person in this. When you build a project up in the north, people in the cities don't live with the effects. It's the First Nations. They live in the shadow of the dams and don't have electricity. They have their lands flooded. We have to be able to look at the benefits and the effects to everyone. I appreciate the opportunity to share my views with you and look forward to more discussion on these issues as they become more and more vital to this country and for the very First Nations that have been here since time immemorial. Kleko, kleko.